Now at noon, strong storms across the Charlotte area, leaving behind downed trees, power lines, and power outages. We've got some of the worst damage from our Sky Tracker. And enrollment for magnet programs at CMS schools up. What's sparking students' interest? Plus, a serious health alert this midday. A shocking discovery, a brand new case of West Nile in South Carolina. Your news at noon starts right now.
This is WCNC, NBC Charlotte News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on NBC Charlotte at noon. I'm Brooke Katz. Weather, the big story today. No doubt it has been hot out there, but get ready because it's going to be heating up even more. Larry Sprinkle tracking the heat wave heading our way. And Larry, we're really talking about some dangerously high temperatures. Without a doubt, yeah. We're going to see the hottest weather we've seen so far this year as we get over the next couple of days, especially towards the end of the week and the upcoming weekend. Got a great view from our view camera looking out to the southeast. Bright sunshine out there right now. Not looking at any stormy weather at the moment. Typical July temperatures today. The heat builds in tomorrow. It's going to be very hot tomorrow. Then Friday and Saturday temperatures, actually, this is not the heat index, approaching near 100 degrees. And with the heat index, it can feel like about 102 to 105 right here in the Charlotte metro area. Take a look at the temperatures right now. For the most part, we're in the low to mid 80s. Not too bad out there at the moment. Into the afternoon, today's temperature is low 90s, and that's that typical July weather. There's about a 20% coverage of storms today. Enjoy the last day of the temperatures in the low 90s because the heat builds in beginning tomorrow. I'll check that and the 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes, Brooke. Larry, thank you. And people cleaning up today after last night's powerful storms caused damage across the Charlotte area. Those storms downed power lines and trees and even brought hail and strong storms sweeping through the area. NBC Charlotte's Ariel Placencia joins us live in Noda on Yadkin Avenue. That's one of the hardest hit areas. And Ariel, what's the damage like that you're seeing there?
Well, Brooke, just an incredible sight here in Noda. Take a look at the size of this tree that fell on top of a house. Now, I'm about 5'3". The base of this tree alone still about a foot taller than I am. You can see those long roots sticking out there. Now, let me show you a bird's eye view of the damage this tree caused. You're looking live through our Sky Tracker right now. The tree fell right on top of this house on Yadkin Avenue, crashing through the roof. The entire right side of the home crumbling. Tree roots lifted, limbs scattered, and the yard completely covered in debris. Drivers stopped in their tracks on I-277 after getting pounded with heavy rain and strong winds. Cars abandoned after streets were left completely underwater.
Went from bad to worse quick, honest.
And a family remembering the terrifying moments when they had to be rescued from the quickly rising waters.
Fortunately, EMS showed up right away, helped us out. We bagged up our cell phones, gathered some belongings, and escorted us out of the danger zone.
Here's video from a viewer in South End. The storm's bringing hail and strong winds. The dark sky lit up over uptown.
I really didn't recognize the extent of the storm until it actually hit.
And this storm really did hit pretty hard. Our Sky Tracker again showing the extent of the damage. This large tree taking out the right side of this house. Just an incredible sight here. The walls literally ripped apart. Now, the Charlotte Fire Department has officially already deemed this building as unsafe. Now, take a look. You can see right here, power lines are down. We've seen that a lot already today. Just completely tangled in this branch right here and pretty close to the ground, touching it actually. A couple of minutes ago, the power crews arrived on scene. They've been working hard. They tell me that they've had quite a busy morning trying to get all those lights turned back on. Everyone I've talked to just told me that they were surprised and taken aback by just the extent of how much damage last night's storms caused. We're live in Dilworth. I'm Ariel Placencia. Brock, I'll send it back to you.
Ariel, thank you so much. We have some breaking news right now. The Panthers have an interim general manager, Mark Herney, the former GM, fired by the team midway through the 2012 season. The announcement made this morning after Dave Gettleman was fired Monday. Herney released a statement in part saying that he's grown since being let go from the team 5 years ago. He's expected to help in finding the new GM. The Burke County mother charged in the death of her 3-year-old son was back in court today for a bond hearing. A judge denied lowering the bond for 23-year-old Jamie Lynn Basinger. Basinger is charged with involuntary manslaughter related to the death of Landon Melton. In March, Landon was found on the porch of their home. Basinger was asleep in the home. The autopsy found the toddler froze to death. A trial date for Basinger was set for December. New here at noon, enrollment for the magnet schools up more than 20% at CMS. Programs like coding and education sparking the interest of students across the area. More than 23,000 students applied for magnet programs last school year. That's compared to just over 19,000 the year before. And applications from a third lottery when student applied for magnet programs is still being calculated. This morning, one truck driver is recovering in the hospital after a crash that shut down part of I-77 for hours. This happened in Cornelius, just south of Catawba Avenue, the exit there. NBC Charlotte's Richard Devane shows us what happened.
Good afternoon. Traffic is flowing very well here on I-77 northbound, but that wasn't the case earlier this morning when two tractor trailers collided, causing a major shutdown right at exit 28. Now, this all happened this morning as troopers tell us some construction workers were out moving barrels, and that had slowed traffic down to a crawl. And the tractor trailer, I should say, that was in a right-hand lane had stopped with the other traffic, but a 18-wheeler came along and clipped that tractor trailer in the back, then in the side. Finally, this is the wreckage you see right here. Both tractor trailers had a lot of damage. The one that was clipped actually went up the road a little bit. We are told by state troopers that that man was cited for failure to reduce speed to avoid an accident. The person in the other tractor trailer, the 18-wheeler, he was taken to CMC Huntersville. His condition is unknown at the time. Now, as you can well imagine, this caused a major backup. They actually had to reroute traffic around exit 28. And then after they cleaned the wreckage away, workers had to come out here, hazmat team, to remove 200 gallons of diesel fuel that clogged the road. You're looking at the workers actually get it up. Then they were able to open to one lane, and finally around 7 o'clock this morning, both lanes were open. And yeah, troopers tell us that that is one of the biggest problems that cause accidents, just folks not paying attention. We're here in Cornelius. Richard Devane, NBC Charlotte.
The Trump administration under the microscope after reports President Donald Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin a second previously undisclosed time during his trip to the G20 summit. An official says Putin and the president spoke briefly after a social dinner for couples at the G20 summit. A photo of that dinner shows Putin seated next to First Lady Melania Trump and across the table from President Trump. This happened shortly after their official meeting earlier in the day. Trump, of course, taking to Twitter to defend himself last night, saying, quote, fake news story of secret dinner with Putin is sick. Even a dinner arranged for top 20 leaders in Germany is made to look sinister. And today, President Trump will meet with Senate Republicans to talk about the failed attempt at a health care bill. The president reportedly wants to talk about the next moves. Earlier this week, the Senate announced that it was dropping its health care proposal because of a lack of support. There could be a vote for a full repeal on Obamacare sometime next week. The U.S. slapped new sanctions against Iran over its ballistic missile program, targeting some 18 entities and people, saying Tehran's activities in the Middle East undercut any positive contributions from the 2015 nuclear accord. NBC's Ali Arouzi reports.
The focus of these sanctions is the Revolutionary Guard and entities and individuals supporting them, whether it's the procurement of hardware for the IRGC, anything from drones, fast attack boats to ballistic missiles, as well as the theft of U.S. and Western software programs. In a statement, the Treasury Department said this administration will continue to aggressively target Iran's malign activities, including their ongoing support of terrorism, ballistic missile programs, and human rights abuses. They also said they will continue to target the IRGC. They did stop short, however, of designating the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization, which would considerably up the stakes. A day before these new sanctions were imposed, a senior Guards commander warned that if new sanctions were imposed and if the Guards were designated as a terrorist organization, it would pose a massive risk to America and its bases and forces in the region. Last night, Iran's foreign ministry condemned the sanctions as contemptible and worthless, and they said that they would reciprocate by imposing sanctions on a number of Americans. Iran's foreign minister has also complained that America is violating the terms of the deal and has called for a meeting between the P5+1 in Vienna tomorrow to examine Iran's complaints about what they say are U.S. failures to carry out its obligations. Ali Arouzi, NBC News, London.
A North Carolina trooper now out of a job after video surfaced showing him speeding the wrong way on a Catawba County highway. TJ Williamson resigned, stepping down yesterday. This is the video. You can see his car there speeding the wrong way down Highway 321. He was reportedly trying to catch a group of racing cars. We're working to find out the effects of a massive sewage spill in South Charlotte. The Herald in Rock Hill reports that health officials could get results of pollution tests as early as today. Up to 200,000 gallons of sewage leaked into Charlotte streams, draining into the Catawba River Friday. Drinking water is considered safe. A new case of the West Nile virus popping up closer to the Charlotte area. Officials in Columbia, South Carolina say they found a bird contaminated with that virus. The mosquito-spread virus was first discovered in South Carolina near the coast last month. Columbia's mayor says the city will spray for mosquitoes in hopes of preventing the spread of West Nile. Tomorrow night, local leaders will discuss plans to build a Major League Soccer stadium right here in Charlotte. This despite not meeting with the league last night. The president of the Major League Soccer and other officials toured Charlotte to consider the possibility of bringing a team here. City and county leaders were originally supposed to meet with the league last night, but ended up canceling. The cost of the new stadium expected to be around $175 million. Some local leaders are having a hard time swallowing that price tag.
I never have anybody who's out of a job or needs housing say, oh, please build a soccer stadium for a billionaire.
The soccer officials hope to hold a meeting with public officials at a later date. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper getting to work on a stack of bills sitting on his desk. Yesterday, he signed several, including one that distributes $100 million to Hurricane Matthew aid. Another new piece of legislation requires zip line and aerial ropes courses to get insurance. Cooper still has 80 bills to consider before the July 30th deadline. How does a mimosa on the beach sound? Pretty good, right? One major beach town just passed the brunch bill, allowing alcohol sales starting at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Wilmington City Council members voted unanimously on that bill last night. The change takes effect immediately. And by the way, Charlotte City leaders expected to take up that issue by the end of the month. Still ahead, last night's storms causing major damage. We have a live look at this house hit hard in Nodai using our sky tracker. Larry Sprinkle telling us if we can expect any more storms in the forecast after the break. And the death of a 10-year-old could be linked to the growing opioid crisis. The shocking way authorities believe that boy may have come in contact with the drug. But first, did a loud sound prompt a deadly shooting of a bride-to-be in Minneapolis? The new details we're learning about her death coming up after the break.